Hey y'all, what's up? Big Willie here, and welcome back to another episode of our All the Mods 10 to the Sky Let's Play. As you can tell behind me, there is a new giant island. We've done a little bit of terraforming here. We got more to do over there still to tie it in. I'm going to put another one off behind me over there to link these other two islands together. But without further ado, we got lots to do. As I said at the end of the last episode, our goal is to automate everything. With auto sieves, auto hammers, all sorts of stuff. But in order to do that in our newly created space, we have to get our power from where it is in there to where we need it out here. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so yes, made this island. I made a new auto dirt thing here that's just a temporary setup. I might make this more permanent downstairs, but I needed dirt to cover over the island here. And so I set up a moss generator with Zycraft here, and it is feeding moss into these barrels, and it makes dirt at a pretty decent rate. I mean, it's not the fastest, but it's also not the slowest, with what I got going on. I could probably have a few less barrels and be maybe a tiny bit more efficient, but it was more than enough to get dirt on everything. And you can tell we have a biome change. We're in a river here, and then we move into a flower forest over here, which should mean if we bone meal this, we get different stuff than we would on the other side. But I just, I got distracted. Okay, let's not get distracted. So it would have been comical for you guys to see this thing, as I was filling it in, just filled with mobs, just a ton. And I thankfully only died once somehow, but it was good. We got through a lot of stuff. And as you can see, I have moved a bunch of drawers down here. These are all linked to our main controller. Some of these are compacting drawers for our ingots and whatnot. Some of these are simple compacting drawers. What we did for our chunks was we put them in simple because now I'm going to be able to extract the ore blocks out of this to use for our automated processing later on in the episode. But we need power in order to do anything in this space down here. I know for those of you that were tuned into my FTB Skies Expert, this is very similar to some of the spaces I created in FTB Skies Expert. My goal is to hide the ugly, and we're going to build this series, okay? We did work on this other little island we made last time with the RF Tools Builder. I made this one with the builder as well. As you can see, I've started to work on shaping the dirt around the bottom of the island here. We're going to get it hanging and vines and moss and whatever else. And this water I would like to incorporate that was in the original island here. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that just quite yet, but maybe have ourselves some water flowing through. Not 100% sure, but we've got some terraforming to do to bring it down. And we could definitely make some water flow around, and I am keen on something like that. Now, onto the clipboard. We need power. We're going to start with flux, okay? So flux networks is what I'm going to use to get power where we want it around the base. And to get started with that, here in the Don't Get Distracted Woolly Barrel, I have everything we need to get started. You're going to need a 1x compressed piece of obsidian, and you are going to need some kind of temporary block. Any kind, doesn't really matter. And so we're going to just stack them up. And we're going to put the 1x on the bottom, and we are going to put just a plain piece of obsidian on top, and I am going to toss a stack of redstone in and left click the top one. Now, sometimes your obsidian dies when you do that. Other times, it doesn't. To be honest, I hate it when it doesn't because I have to sit here and break a piece of obsidian. But I guess technically that's better because you didn't lose your obsidian. We're going to go ahead and convert 2 stacks of redstone. Should be enough to get us some flux points and all of that we're after going. Make sure you turn off your magnet for this. See, now it turned into cobble like it was supposed to. All right, and that should be enough for us to get going in Flux Networks. Let me get this 1x obsidian out of the way here. So I tore down the ugly island that we had made before. We're going to keep our 1x obsidian just in case we need to make more flux. And I took all of the Zycraft extractor setups, and they have been moved over here to the new Rs island. I took all the Rs stuff that was set up on the ugly cobble island over there, brought it over here to the top. I haven't done much decorating other than to grow some trees, and I set everything back up. I got our little source gem generator set up going there. Gonna need to figure out a way to automate this. I might put like a controller extension here and export, I'm not sure, or I may just wait until we get into AE2 and change it up even more. And then on the underneath of this island down here where we had some of the other extractor setups, I have set up a few more extractors. So we brought our snow over, we brought our moss over, we brought our netherrack over, and then I don't remember what all we did in the last episode, but we got blackstone going here with the ice that we made that we needed. We got our deep slate going here. We also got cobbled deep slate going because this deep slate we would have to break to make it cobbled so that we can then hammer it for sieving. But if I set it up this way, I get cobbled. So all the stuff that we're going to hammer, you'll notice, is in a compacting drawer. And that is in case we need to manually hammer it down. It's already 1x, and the compacting drawers hold a little bit more by default. Gives us slightly bigger buffer. And then I put a stack upgrade in here in the moss just because we were using it to make dirt. And I'm probably going to set up that process somewhere long term. And I wanted to have a big old stash of it for when I did. So now that you have been caught up on where everything got moved to, let's get back over here, and, well, we really don't have to go anywhere. Let's take a look at Flux Networks. So, Flux Networks, where is power? The basic power. There we go, Flux. Cool. So for Flux Networks, we need a Flux core, which is the core of making just about everything. We're going to need Flux blocks, and then we want a plug, which is how we put power into the network. And then we're going to want a point, which is how we take power out of the network. And then after that, if we want to be able to enable like wireless charging on our player, we're going to want a controller. I don't know if we have enough flux for all this. We may have to smash some more. And then storing power starts with a basic flux storage, and then it goes to a Herculean, and then it goes to a gargantuan, but I don't think we're there on our resource gen yet, so we'll pin those just in case. But let's just see how far we can get. Oh, I automated the furnaces a little more where I can put coal in the back here, but we are going to fix that as soon as we have wireless power and tidy it up even more. So for starters, flux cores, let's make, I don't know, maybe a stack of them. And then we are going to want a flux plug, which we need a block for. And then we're going to want a few points. I don't know, 2 or 3 maybe. Okay, 2 it is, because we've already run out of our others. Now the flux controller, we are going to need flux blocks, which is 5 batches of flux cores. We are out of Eyes of Ender. We can make more. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to need 1 more. Okay. Flux controller. So now we just need to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, are we going to have like, we are just barely too short on, we're like literally 1 flux dust short, aren't we? 2 flux dust. All right, let's get some redstone out and go get that done. Obsidian. What happened to those flux blocks? Didn't we have 5 flux blocks? Yeah, we do. We had everything we need. For some reason, it was not, it can't see this chest. Why would it not be able to see that chest? Even though it's putting items in it. That makes no sense. Either way. All right, so now we should be able to make our flux controller. And then let's see if we can make a basic storage. 6 flux blocks. Okay. I mean, that's at least one. We definitely don't have enough to make another one, I don't think. Okay, we did. So we can make 2 basics. All right, so here we are. Let's head down to our power. And now we've got this already set up right here with our 8X magmatic. And then we just need somewhere along the line, we need a flux plug. So I'm going to pull it off this line because that leaves these 2 battery buffers in line as well. And we're going to put it right here. We need to make ourselves a network. We will call it Woolies, make it purple, hit create, and there we go. So now we want it to be able to bypass the limit, you know, because we want to get power out as fast as we can. Your batteries and controller can go anywhere. So we're just going to toss them right here under the floor, and we have to do the same thing here. We have to put these on the network, and we always want to tell them to bypass the limit. That way, if we've got a big draw coming in, then, you know, we can pull as much power as possible. Now, this should basically cap out what these cables are capable of, which is 3.2 KFE a tick, which we can upgrade these once we get into some mechanism. But for now, that is plenty fine for getting power into our network. Last but not least, we're going to add our controller to our network. We're going to tell it bypass limit, and then the best tab, wireless charging. We're going to check all the slots it'll let us check, tick the enable box, and hit apply. And now anything on our person that needs power, for example, like our personal shrinking device, you'll notice it charged right there in my hand. So as we get into building gadgets and other copy paste tools, our wireless grid, all of that stuff, it's going to charge in our inventory without any other power needed. Now, you can see we are draining this battery down, but that is because we are filling these batteries up. So as soon as we are done filling those batteries up, now you'll notice this is going to climb back up. Our generation rate, which is the thing we shouldn't target to exceed, is 1.2 KFE a tick. If we start exceeding that, we may need to make another 8X magmatic, and then we'll have to see how that taxes our lava setup as we move forward. But now we're ready to go. We've got power wherever we want it with these flux points right here. So let's take a look at the clipboard. Let's mark some things off and see where we're going. Wireless power via flux. There we go. That is a huge one. We just marked that off. Flux networks. We can mark it off because it's on the list twice, apparently. So let's clear the checked. Auto sieves, automate everything. Here's what we want to sieve. I have all of these pinned. I had deep slate with a question mark because deep slate, I think the only thing that it adds over gravel is uranium. So if we come over here and we look at gravel and we go to uses and we go to our top tier, I think we do not get uranium from gravel. We don't. But if we go look at deep slate and we go to our netherite sieve, you're going to notice we get uranium. And I think maybe platinum adds in there too. So there are 2 resources that we can get from deep slate that we don't get from gravel, but there are resources from gravel that we don't get from deep slate. So you look at deep slate and you go to that top tier, we're not getting diamonds, we're not getting emeralds, so we still have to do gravel and deep slate so that we can generate both our diamonds and emeralds and our uranium and platinum through the sieves for now. Now, there's other methods that we're going to get access to generate things. Geors, apparently, is what they're trying to push us to. They have very much nerfed how much you can grow with mystical agriculture, and I'm here for it. We've all done mystical agriculture so many times, you know, that like the fact that most of your resource seeds have been removed, it really doesn't bother me. I mean, there's, you know, still your mob seeds and some basic stuff like your dye, honey, you know, stuff like that, your dirt, wood. Speaking of dirt, those of you the keen among you, this is to get started in mystical agriculture. We got that going right there in case we have time to get to it today. But we got a lot on the agenda, so quit talking and get back to it, Wooly. All right, so down here, Actually, before we get down here, let's go get the stuff for down here so that we can start sieving everything. You're like, well, Wooly, how are you going to get your resources there? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to use a controller access point to get all of our resources that we want to sieve down here. If you take a look here, it's almost like I knew what I was doing, which could be a shocker for some of you guys. Our storage controller with the upgrades we put in it is more than capable of reaching all of this island and then some. So we are still within the range of our storage controller. We're going to be able to use a controller access point and use a pipe with a filter of some kind. I don't know what we're going to use. Laser IO might be fun, but I think initially, I'm just honestly not sure. We're going to set up this to extract all of our materials from it, and I just have to figure out how and where the best place to do that is. But let's talk about how we're going to do it. So we're going to set up a bunch of different lines for our hammers. So for gravel, we're just going to need one hammer for the cobble. For sand, we're going to need two. For dust, we're going to need three. And then for each of the other ones, we're going to need one apiece. One for netherrack, one for endstone, one for deep slate, and one for blackstone. So we're going to set up towers of flux hammers feeding down into a drawer, a buffer drawer, which I don't think we'll need, but we might want it eventually. Not really. We don't really need a drawer. We're just going to feed these straight into the sieves. What am I even talking about? So then it'll look kind of like this. Why do I have one extra? Oh, for soul sand, which we don't have to hammer. So these towers are going to get set up each in a row. I'll show you probably the most complicated one. We'll do the stack of three with all the way down to dust into a sieve. And then we are going to pipe out of the bottom of these if we can. If not, I think that we may be able to do like a sophisticated storage block and then link that with a storage controller. I don't know. We're going to have to figure it out as we go. I didn't think that far ahead, but let's get started right now. What do I want? I want some temp blocks. So cobble, we do need to figure out why that one chest was like acting weird up there too. So it might be because we upgraded it in place. I don't know. Pause 1 second. All right, sorry, fixed that. I just had to update the chest, apparently, and then he could see the inventory that was in there again. So I don't know. I did do an in-place upgrade with an upgrade we got from a quest reward. So I guess if you have a little chest wall like this and you add something, you need to update the inventory for stuff to show up. Just open it and sort the inventory, and that was all I did, and it started working just fine again. Also, you'll notice I have these two pulling from these two chests back into the storage controller. That gets anything that we smelt in here back into our storage for us. So, yeah, that's kind of good. Let's see, coal. Are we completely out of coal? We are. We need to get all this auto hammering and sieving going. Okay. So I made one other thing. You're going to need a filter destination tool with the pipes mod so that we can tell our pipes where things go. So if we're setting extract and destination filters and all kinds of stuff like that, we're going to need a way to tell those pipes where it can send that stuff. So let's get our controller down. Let's come up here. Let's put it back here. We're going to put our controller extension right here. And then we need to link it. And so now this should show as linked to our main controller, right? Yes. Sweet. So now this should, in theory, be able to, yep, look, there's our lava, there's our fluid XP. It can see everything that we can see in our main controller, which means that we could set up an extract from this. So what we're going to need for this is we're probably going to let's just come off the face of this, okay? Then we're going to come out to like here, and we're going to put, well, we're not going to put that on there yet because we haven't set a filter. let's get a filter out or an upgrade out. So let's see, at pipe up. Let's make as high a tier of one as we can, because this thing's going to be putting in some work. So diamond. And can we make more netherite? No. Okay, so we don't have any more netherite right now. So diamond is as high as we can go. So where is our upgrade? So up. There we go. All right, so we're going to tell this thing that it is going to be extracting from our controller extension point. And then we are going to tell it that it can extract cobble. We're going to tell it to distribute round robin, and we're going to add to the whitelist cobblestone. Now, because this is going to be like the main thing we're extracting out of this line of pipes, we're not going to need our filter destination tool. We will only need to use that when we start adding in our endstone and all of the other things. So there we go. Cobblestone. Submit. It's set up for round robin. All right, here we go. So now let's get all of our hammers, and we're going to try this. We're going to go, so this will be gravel, this will be dust, this one, or this will be gravel, this will be sand, this one's going to be dust. So we need our first hammer. And then if you take an XDiorum and you shift right click, you can change the output, and we're going to put it down one more. And then we're going to change the output, and we're going to come down again with another hammer. And then we're going to come down even further, and we are going to change the output one more time, and we are going to put our sieve. And this should, in theory, hammer all the way down to dust, and then it should start sieving, but we need power into all of these. So I think I'm going to need to come up one more with our pipes, just so that we can get power into the backs of these machines. So if we come up one more with our pipe, that gets our cobble fed in there, and then we just need to get power to this whole row of machines. So enter our flux point. Put our flux point pretty much anywhere. We'll put it down here. We'll put it on the Big Woolly network. And then we're going to grab out some mechanism power cables, because they are, you know, I don't know. I like them because I can upgrade them in place to send more power as our power demands grow later on. And now we should, in theory, be able to see this thing work. So on this first cycle here, it's going to hammer some, which is going to come down here. And this one is going to hammer that gravel and turn it into sand. And this one's going to hammer that sand and turn it into dust. And this one is not going to hammer the dust yet, because we need an inventory on the output side. But we are going to change the output side with our hammer once again to the front here. And then if we were to, let's just make a bunch of barrels. We're going to need, how many did we have? 1, 2, 3. I think it's 8 total things. So we're going to need 8 barrels. Okay, there's those. And then all we need are some redstone torches to upgrade them. And the reason we want to do sophisticated barrels is we will be able to treat this multi-block of barrels as one single storage to extract from and connect back up to our network, rather than having to have pipes or anything else. This one multi-block of barrels will count as a single inventory for us to be able to interface with when we start using a storage link along with another storage controller. So barrel, and then we go to our recipe on this and we shift click it, and now we have 8 barrels. And if we put a barrel on the front of this, this should now run the next cycle and output us some of our materials from our dust. There we go. All right, so give me a minute. I'm going to set up all of the other basic ones that just use cobble, get them all tied in, and then we will go from there. All right, y'all, I'm back, and I had a realization. We are going to have to use our filter destination tool, because since we're going to be extracting more than just cobble from this, we don't want it just randomly spewing cobble into anything new we connect. So to use the filter destination tool, whichever side of the block you click with this to set a destination is the side it's going to set to interact. So you can actually have a pipe connected to the top, but tell it to input on the west, which is very useful with things like mechanism machines. So we're going to right click on the top of this one, or left click, I'm sorry. Is it right? Is it left? Is it shift? Why is it not setting a destination? Should say destination set on screen. So now, there we go. Right click to set the destination. The face you click is the face it's going to pick. And now, if we come in here and we go and edit our third one, this should have, there we go, 27 instead of 28. And you'll see that changes. We hit submit. And now we're going to have Cobble going to the 3 in a row that are at different Y heights, but it's going to send Cobble to each of those. Everything else set up on a barrel of its own. And as you can see, we're already getting resources coming in. So we're going to need to start getting these into our system. But for now, we just want to get the basic setup done so that we can keep moving right along. Now, each of the rest of these is just going to take a single hammer and a sieve. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of those set up. I was using my personal shrinking device, by the way, to make it easier to get under these blocks without having to like break open into the world. So here's going to be our next 4 machines. We will get our item cable brought over and down into the top of these hammers. We're going to put 4 hammers. Whoa, you know, that's a really big drop when you're tiny. We're going to get our hammer and tell these they're going to output to the bottom. Put our sieves along underneath. And then we need to put a mesh in each of them. They each need power. And then now we're going to need to get our item cables over here and down. Since we have a destination set on everything, these are going to accidentally connect, but that shouldn't matter because we can just remove these. And then let's just double check and make sure we don't have anything that we're not supposed to. Oh, we do. Okay, so it pulled a bunch of dust. And it's filling this with dust. So yeah, we've got issues. Please hold. I think my issue is I just need to not connect anything until I add a filter for the piece that I'm connecting. Otherwise, it's just going to pull random stuff out of the controller back into our inventory. So let's go ahead and pick our top of this one. Okay. And then for that one, we are going to add in, let's go with Blackstone. We're going to tell it that it can send Blackstone to there and hit submit. And then now if we take all this dust out, it should in theory, ooh, that is not what we wanted. It should in theory, once we take the dust out, only feed Blackstone into this one. Heck yeah. So then for the next one, we just need to rinse and repeat. So we will pick the next one. We're going to go to the top of that block. We're going to add another, and you are going to get deep slate, cobbled deep slate. So cobbled deep slate right there. You go there, and we hit submit. And then now, if we were to connect pipe to this one, should fill with cobbled deep slate. There we go. Sorry, the first time I've tried to do this way, so, you know, learning with you guys. That's what I always do on my channel. If you don't like it, sorry, but that's how I do it. All right, in stone, we add in our new destination. Submit. Now we can connect the pipe. And that'll fill that with in stone. Last but not least, netherrack right there. Set our destination and add it in. And it's going to fill with netherrack. Now these need some inventories to output, and we need to change the output for these sieves. Alrighty. And that should have us ready to produce all of these resources. Now, the last thing we're going to need is some kind of way to link all these together. So we're going to need one more of the storage controllers like we have on the main island so that we can treat this multi-block. Actually, we've still got one more barrel. What are you doing? Last but not least, soul sand. So soul sand is just going to need a sieve, power, we need to pick the destination. Oh, and we forgot to set the output for the barrel too. Can we reach in here and get this face? Maybe. Let's see. I don't know. Let's verify that we got that. We did. Heck yeah. Okay. So we've got our output set. We have our destination for our destination tool. And then if we come in here and we add soul sand to here and submit. We're going to disconnect this one. And that should be putting soul sand into this sieve, and it just needs a mesh to operate. And there we have it. So now we have officially automated everything. It's all automated here. And all we need to do now is get our products back into our storage. And I'm going to do that with a storage controller from Sophisticated Storage. So storage controller. There might be an easier way to do it. If there is, let me know. I mean, you know, this is how I'm doing it because we're not into AE2 yet. So this storage controller right here, we need a couple of redstone comparators. So we're gonna need like 6 redstone torches and at SOP store con. There we go. A couple of these. Storage controller. And then the question becomes, do I want to put it right here, or do we want to put it like here, for example, make ourselves a storage link. And then if we make the wrench from Sophisticated Storage, SOP, what is it? Tool. That's what it's called. Storage tool. If we make one of these, this block here will treat this row of chests as a multi-block. And then if I link to the controller, so linking to here, and now this storage controller should be able to see everything that's in there. And all we have left to do is send it back. And then if we put an upgrade in there, just for speed, that's going to be able to empty all of these barrels all the way down. And anything that's left in these barrels means we don't have a spot for it. So there's nothing in our drawer wall that will allow them to go. So uranium ore chunks, for example, we are going to need a simple compacting drawer to put them in. So in between this episode and the next episode, I will clean up and get the rest of this in there. There are some things that we're probably going to want to avoid in here too. So, but thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this was a cohesive episode for you guys to watch and learn. I learned something. I have never used the destination tool that much to set up some automations, and this was pretty cool. We are still pre-AE2, and I just set up an entire auto sieve setup nowhere near where my cobble's being made or my power's being made, and I was able to do it without applied energistics too. That's kind of a fun challenge for me. Sure, this would have been a lot easier with AE2 once we get there, but we need bigger power and all kinds of stuff to support all of that. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell for future notifications, and we'll see y'all next time.